Sunday the 17th of September, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom and on YouTube for the official relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website, priestisaacInstitute.com. Our website has been upgraded and has been made more easily accessible to you. On priestisaacInstitute.com, you will find all that you need for your holistic growth. We offer certified courses in ancient astronomy and ancient archaeoastronomy, as well as our international homeschool program for children of all ages. At priestisaacInstitute.com, we not only offer our books, video documentaries, and webinars, we also have available food preparation courses and cooking classes in the field of raw foods as well as vital plant-based cuisines. Do you shop online for your nuts, grains, etc.? We have that too. Get all your necessities from your agave, honey, spices, all your nuts, and so on. Now don't forget our online clothing labeled with our icons. You can get your sweaters, t-shirts, even hoodies. The Tiger's Nest. And speaking of the Tiger's Nest, Radio Anu International, 24-hour internet radio, giving you positive, conscious information and inspiration throughout the day. Again, on the 17th of September 2023, mark the date, from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom or on the Priest Isaac's YouTube channel for the official relaunch of priestisaacInstitute.com. Zoom VIPs will receive a special gift. To get your Zoom link, go to the website priestisaacInstitute.com or email us at priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. 17th of September. Be there.
Leo Muhammad was kicking too much fire there a moment ago. But we had a brief intermission, but we're talking about radio and TV. Yes, my royal family. Give thanks for making it your business for to come and sum it up in this morning. But we're not morning now. Uprising, we like to say, uprising, because the sun is coming forth. Hey, family partners, once again, for that little, I don't know if it's an intermission or an interruption. But we had Brother Leo Muhammad kicking some serious fire here. You know, coming down on the European colonial, former colonial and still present colonial, neo-colonial masters, coming heavy on the USA and Britain and France, right there in the city of London. Then all of a sudden, we had to start over the streets. Yeah, family, give thanks, trust me, those of us in the barracks, those of us on the front line, those of us on the battlefield, we understand the tactic. Talking about illegal warfare, mustard gas. But anyway, we are here once again. In fact, we have always been here. cannot kill us because we cannot die. Tell them I said so. Our name will be spoken for generations on end. Rastafari. That's how we live on. Hey family, what we're gonna do, we're gonna just give thanks and, give thanks again to Brother Leo Muhammad for his words now. But we're gonna continue with our program today. Hey, once again, this is Radio and No TV. Radio and No TV. Don't be telling nobody we have no radio and no television. We ain't telling no lies through no vision here. We're telling you truth through the vision. So don't mix it up now. It's Radio and No TV, not Radio and No television. Radio and TV, telling you truth through the vision, and definitely the link for Radio and International of talking about the international flavor, the universal spice. You know where to go to get that. That's always in the link in the description below. But family, we're going to continue our program today. I'm just here keeping your company here in the morning uprising, giving you some meditation, some education, some inspiration, some comprehension, some vibration, some frequency, some love and harmony, and some good stuff. That's how we do it right here. What's the name of this situation here now? Radio and TV, telling you the truth now. Truth we're giving you here through the vision. Beautiful. What I want to do before we go into anything deep and heavy, because I have some deep and heavy vibration lined up for you. We got Brother Ranoko Roshidi, who will be giving us a presentation in a few moments. Yes, the ancestor, he's still here with us. But before that, I want to touch upon a bit of international news. We were just hearing from Brother Leo Muhammad speaking directly of the situation there in Niger. I think we're all familiar by now. Of course, we have done 7 programs in the midst of that. Now the news is out that the G20 approves the African Union as a permanent member at New Delhi Summit. And let's get into that.
The African Union has become a new permanent member of the group of 20 countries. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement on Saturday in an opening address at this year's G20 summit in New Delhi. Members of the G20 are gathering in India over the weekend. Other issues being discussed at the summit include increasing loans to developing nations by multilateral institutions and the reform of international debt architecture. Joe Jia-Shin has more from New Delhi. Well, we apologize for that. Let's delve deeper and closer. We have Dr. Sizo Nkala, a political analyst and postdoctoral research fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies, University of Johannesburg, joining us via Zoom from Johannesburg. Thank you and welcome to the program. The African Union has been admitted to the G20. What does this mean for the AU on the one hand, and of course, the G20 itself?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you please repeat your question?
Well, we're talking about the AU, the AU being admitted to the G20. What are the benefits, of course, for Africa? Compare that to the benefits to the G20 itself.
Well, I think the inclusion of Africa, in one of the world's most important global policy-making forums is quite a big deal. So it means it's a recognition of the importance of Africa in terms of shaping the future of the global order. The importance of Africa in important strategic global issues such as climate change, immigration, and peace and security. So it's quite a big deal for Africa because for a long time, Africa has been marginalized in these policy-making forums whose decisions have an impact on the lives of people in Africa. So having an African voice and African representation there is important. For the G20, I think it's for a long time it's been seen as an exclusive club, a small group of nations that take decisions that impact on other countries. So adding 1.3 billion people on its table, I think it boosts it improves its legitimacy and credibility as a global leader.
All right, Doctor, you say it's a big deal for Africa. So my question to you is, how can the African continent take advantage of this, and in what particular sectors can it take advantage of this?
Well, I think there are many opportunities for Africa to take advantage of this to benefit of its people. Firstly, I think the G20 is a large group with significant economic influence involved. It's a group that controls, I think, 85% of the world's GDP and 75% of its trade. So whatever it decides, it certainly has a global impact. So Africa has an opportunity now to advance its own interests, which may include maybe climate change, especially climate change finance. It also includes the reform of the international system, especially that of the UN Security Council and the international financial system as well. It also includes maybe immigration issues. Of course, Africa is at the center of global immigration issues, with most of its immigrants falling victim to dangers along the immigration journey. So these are issues that Africa can now bring to the fore at the G20.
Finally, Doctor, before we let you go, one final question. The G20 membership also comes with responsibilities. How will the AU play its part, given its structure and the nature of its own operations? How do you see it, Doctor?
Well, I think that's the main issue with the African membership of the G20, because Africa is an intergovernmental organization. It's not a supranational organization like maybe the European Union. It depends on the consensus of its member states. So it's an organization that cannot really take independent decisions without the consent of every member state. So decision making and positioning on issues being discussed at the G20 would be very problematic because African member states are diverse member states with diverse interests. You have giants like Nigeria, Ethiopia, or South Africa, and small countries like Swaziland. They have different interests. For them to adopt a common position is a challenge. We've seen this in various global issues like the Russia-Ukraine war, or even the climate change issue, or the Israel-Palestine conflict, or even the military coups that are happening currently in Africa. These countries rarely agree on these issues. So it will be interesting to see how they work out their G20 membership and agree or arrive at a common position in terms of issues discussed at the G20. So I think what will have to happen is they will have to devise a mechanism through which maybe the African Union can consult the member states, agree on issues before they go to the G20 summits. Maybe in that way, the AU can be effective.
Africa is now in the G20, and I'm sure many of you who follow geopolitics would definitely want to keep an eye on that. Without a doubt. As I said, brothers and sisters, we're going to get some information there from our good brother, the ancestor brother, Ronoko Roshiki. But before that, sure, just reminding you that the official relaunch of the website, I'm talking about the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website, that is Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 17th day of September 2023. And of course, the International Homeschool Program will be a very, very, very big part of such a launch, a very important part of such a vibration on that day. Remember, the time is from 2 to 4. 2 to 4. And for those of you who are coming into the VIP Zoom link, definitely need to contact us to get your Zoom link for sure. Of course, that is via our email, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. Remember, everyone that will be in the VIP Zoom link, they're going to, number one, you're going to get a special gift from us at the Institute. Remember, we are also launching our ancient astronomical natal chart reading document. I myself, for those who may not know, I myself will be making a presentation that evening. I myself will be presenting my ancient astronomical natal chart reading document from top to bottom, from beginning to end. So you will get a good comprehension of what the ancient astronomical natal chart reading document is all about. And of course, you'll be in a position to purchase your own document, definitely, as it says, precise, concise, and comprehensive a reading of the heavenly bodies in relation to your born day or in relation to the day that you came out of the womb, what we consider your birthday. So that's a key part of the launch on Sunday. Remember, you don't have to be in the Zoom link. We're going to be streaming it on the YouTube. But here this, man. But those of you who are in the Zoom link, you get a special offer as it relates to the natal chart reading. Now, the natal chart reading is only $175 specifically, and that's for the precise natal chart reading document. It's a document. It's not no sit down and no 15-minute talk and I tell you, boy, the star was here and the star was there and this is what it means. No. This is something that is going to take me 7 to 14 days to prepare for you. For those of you who are listening to the previous programs, you would have heard me at least give you a little sample of my natal chart reading. On Sunday, I'll be giving you the full natal chart reading. And you'll be seeing it. I'm not just reading it to you. You'll be seeing it with your eyes. You'll be reading through it with me. And plus you will see the visuals that go with it. So it's a very, again, concise and comprehensive and precise, very precise document. Your natal chart reading is very unlike the regular natal chart reading. And as I said, this is no competition with the astrological world whatsoever. We're just doing it the way we know Melchizedek order say that it should be done. So again, you that will be in the Zoom VIP Zoom link arena, you'll be getting it for only $75. The value of it, well, not the value, it's valued more than that, but it's sold for $175. But of course, $75 for sure for those who be in the Zoom link. Remember, you don't need to purchase anything, you know. The Zoom link is free. You just contact us and say, I would like to be in the VIP Zoom link. That's all. And there are other things that come with that. But throughout the day, I'll give you some more information as it relates to that, as it relates to Sunday, again, the 17th day of September. That's upcoming now. And we are definitely talking about the relaunch of the Priest Isaac Institute of Holistic Knowledge website. In fact, let me just give you a little touch of that once again, so you clearly understand what is taking place this Sunday upcoming. Give thanks, radio and no TV, not no television now, telling you truth through the vision.
Sunday the 17th of September, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom and on YouTube for the official relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website, priestisaacInstitute.com. Our website has been upgraded and has been made more easily accessible to you. On PriestIsaacInstitute.com, you will find all that you need for your holistic growth. We offer certified courses in ancient astronomy and ancient archaeoastronomy, as well as our international homeschool program for children of all ages. At PriestIsaacInstitute.com, we not only offer our books, video documentaries, and webinars, we also have available food preparation courses and cooking classes in the field of raw foods as well as vital plant-based cuisines. Do you shop online for your nuts, grains, etc.? We have that too. Get all your necessities from your agave, honey, spices, all your nuts, and so on. Now don't forget our online clothing labeled with our icons. You can get your sweaters, t-shirts, even hoodies. The Tiger's Nest. And speaking of the Tiger's Nest, Radio Anu International, 24-hour internet radio, giving you positive, conscious information and inspiration throughout the day. Again, on the 17th of September 2023, mark the date, from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom or on the Priest Isaac's YouTube channel for the official relaunch of Priest Isaac Institute.com. Zoom VIPs will receive a special gift. To get your Zoom link, go to the website PriestIsaacInstitute.com or email us at PriestIsaacInstitute@gmail.com. 17th of September.
Again, for those
Be
who
there.
will be shopping online on that day. I mean, I know many of you do shop online at our holistic health food store, but here it is. Let me just give you a little secret. If you shop on the holistic health food store on that day during the webinar, you will get a free copy of our brand new, just released book. I'm talking about the rudiments of ancient astronomy. Imagine that. And if you shop on the same day, the 17th of September, on our health food, holistic food store, that is on our website, by the way, also get a copy of The Night, the Black Tiger. So all you got to do is just order some cashew nuts, or order some almond nuts, or stock up on your honey, or stock up on your agave, or stock up on your millet, or stock up on your quinoa. You get all of that, on our holistic whole food store. And where do we find this holistic whole food store? I'm glad that you asked. PriestIsaacInstitute.com. PriestIsaacInstitute.com. In a moment, the link will be in the description below. But for those who may be looking at this on a rerun, well, the link is in the description below by now. All you got to do is just press it and it carries you straight to the website itself. And as I said, we are officially relaunching the website on Sunday. I'm asking everyone to be present. I mean, as you can see, we have a lot of products, we have a lot of services, and that will be the day for you to take advantage of our products and services. I'm just beginning to express to you exactly what it is that we have in store for you. And as I said again, yes, in reality, of course, those who will be in the Zoom link, they will get a special offer as it relates to their ancient astronomical natal chart reading document. Now, when I just said a moment ago, those who shop from the Whole Food store on that day will get a free copy of the rudiments of ancient astronomy, and they will get a free copy of The Night of the Black Tiger. They don't have to be in the Zoom link for that. They just have to do it. They don't even have to be watching. Just miraculously during the time when we are on the air, they just happen to, email us and say, hey, I'm going to order some food. I want to get some, let me see, I'm going to get some herbs. I want to get some dried bay leaf because we have all of that. Do you know we have all of that good stuff on our holistic health food store? We have more than health food. You can get your soap, all your natural products, your coconut oil, your natural coconut oil, your olive oil, all the other types of oils. You're not going to get none of that vegetable oil stuff here. Full, all natural, organic, and quite affordable as it relates to price. I would say competitive even as it relates to our prices here at the Holistic Whole Food Store at the Priest Isaac Institute website, priestisaacinstitute.com. So, of course, as I said, even in the ad, everything is made more accessible to you and much more easier for you to navigate yourself around our website. We have a lot more content as it relates to our courses, even the International Homeschool Program. Definitely a lot more content has been added to that, and for sure more information, more videos, more activities for the young ones, for the young minds. So we're definitely expanding all of our products and our services right here at the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. It sounds good to me. What say you?
I think it sounds wonderful.
Oh, perfect. So yes, right here in the studio, definitely the Tiger's Nest doing some works as we go through. Remember, this is a radio Anu TV now. Radio Anu TV, yeah, a television, telling you truth through the vision. Now, as I promised you a moment ago, we are going to get some information here from the good brother Ronoko Rashidi. And of course, brother Ronoko Rashidi, who is at the moment now an ancestor amongst us, to give thanks at the same time. But of course, he would have done some great works as it relates to the African presence in many different parts of the earth, many different parts of the globe. And we want to take in some information and coming from him.
Step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction.
To the pre-dynastic period. And this is the very end of the phase that ushers in the period of the pharaohs. Now, this is a photograph that my tour guide in Egypt gave me when I was there in May. We hit it off quite well. His name was Walid Ekram, and this is one of the images he gave me, and this is Hormakhet, or the Great Sphinx. And this is the closest close-up I've ever seen. Now, you've seen this monument many times, I know. It has the body of the lion and the head of the king. But I am pretty much willing to bet you that you haven't seen this one before. Now, the history of this dance on one occasion, initially by a group of white slaves in Turkey called Mamluks. And then the most notorious example comes during the time that Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor from Corsica in France, went to Egypt in 1798 and trained his artillery on the face of this monument. Now, what I found out, even the last time I was in Egypt, I was surprised to find out just for the first time. In fact, I even saw for the first time some of the fragments from the face of Hormakhet in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. They're right there. Anybody can see them. I think they're not labeled, though, so if you don't know what you're looking at, you just see a mass of stone. And some of the rest of it is in the basement of the British Museum in London. But if you just look at these lips, that should tell you the whole story right there. Let's go to the next one, Lawrence. This one is from a museum. Where did I get this from? This is either in Copenhagen, Denmark, or it's in Leiden in Holland. I forget which, because I went to both countries on the same trip. And this is from the Pyramid Age. Now, you will notice, if you haven't already, because I know a lot of you all are very well read and very knowledgeable, that many of these have the noses either missing or partially damaged. And one of the theories is, I think Chancellor Williams talked about it in his magnificent Destruction of Black Civilizations, that this was done by people who invaded Egypt much later. Prince Badar and I have had some very interesting discussions about the noses on the people, the noses on the statue. And I hope and pray that you get a chance to go to his tour of the University Museum today. Nobody does it like him. He gives a very refreshing perspective, with the idea being, from what I understand, is that you cannot understand ancient Egypt unless you understand contemporary Africa. And that part of our problem is we have a tendency to use European sources. Even the best of our scholars have a tendency to use European sources for an understanding of African phenomenon. And it just doesn't work that way. Anyway, it seems to me that the ones with the noses knocked off makes them look even more Africoid. Let's go to the next one. Now, this is an image. It's not the sharpest in the world, but I went to great lengths to photograph this because it was behind a piece of glass. And I'm not a great photographer, and so the problem is it was poorly lit. You couldn't use a flash, and it was behind a piece of glass, so it was almost impossible not to get some glare. But I have looked for this piece for 20 years. I found this in a book when I worked at Compton College. I think it was called Middle Kingdom Art. Middle Kingdom Art being the middle phase in dynastic Egyptian history, or Kemetic Egyptian. Let me slow down. It covers the period from around 2000 BC to about 1700 BC. And traditional Egyptologists called that the Middle Kingdom. And I found a copy of this in a black and white book, and I wanted to see the actual piece. So I had to go all the way to Edinburgh in Scotland to photograph this. This is in the, I think it's the Royal Museum of Scotland. Let's go to the next one. That man's name is Nepepet Minto. Now, does that look sharply focused to you all? I'm close to it, so it's hard to tell. Lawrence, try to focus it anyway and just see what happens. Yeah, okay. This is, I've had a black and white of this for a long time too. And I wanted to go and find the actual piece, which turned out to be a very small piece. This is from Dynasty 12. A dynasty is simply a family of rulers, one member of the family coming after the other for an extended period of time. That's my definition of a dynasty. And there are 30 dynasties or 30 royal families, most of which were indigenous African. And this is my #1 all-time favorite Heru or pharaoh from ancient Kemet. This man's name is Namare Amenemhet III, and this is in the Fitzwilliam Museum at Cambridge University. So on one trip, I went to the Ashmolean Museum at Oxford and the Fitzwilliam Museum at Cambridge. And wouldn't you know it, the Egyptian collection in the Fitzwilliam Museum was closed. The first disappointment was they said you couldn't take pictures in there, but I had a small camera in my pocket anyway. And I figured that the worst that could happen is they would say you can't take any pictures after I've taken a few rolls. And then the other thing was the Egyptian collection was closed. So I went all that way and struck out. But I didn't take no for an answer. And so I was able to stick my head, a rather large head, but I got it in there anyway, underneath the partition, blocking off the Egyptian section. And what I couldn't photograph, and I wasn't supposed to be photographing anything, I was able to get a lot of in museum catalogs and postcards. And that's a tricky thing too, because all too often the most Africoid pieces they will not have a postcard of. They usually will have the most European looking images in the form of postcards. And sometimes, even if they have the images that you're looking for in a book, the book will be very expensive, $50, $75, $100. But I really like this piece, and I was able to get a hold of it. And one of the things that you notice about the figures on this king, particularly this piece, are those big old ears. Apparently, the idea was the larger the ears, the more you could hear, the more knowledge you would have, and the more powerful. This brother's on the throne for 48 years. Let me show another image. This one here. And this is in a museum in Copenhagen, Denmark. Hardly any of these are in Africa. This is in a museum in Copenhagen called the Nye Carlsberg Glyptotek Museum. And the same person that founded that museum is the person who was the founder of the Carlsberg Brewery. Anybody ever drink Carlsberg beer or hear about it? A beer company. And the brewery is right across the street from the museum. So I flew this time from Paris to Copenhagen. I'd never been in Denmark before to go to this museum. And I got there, and wouldn't you know it, the Egyptian museum, the Egyptian section was closed. And I walked in there anyway. And somebody, a big fat white man, said, "Sir, you can't be in here." And I said, "I flew all the way from New York. I added a couple thousand miles to the story. I flew all the way from New York to be here." They said, "Well, if you come an hour, you can at least go to the front of the section and peep in." So I waited 55 minutes and waited for an hour until I saw the workmen working in the collection going in there. And I walked right in there like I was working in there. And I shot up 2 rolls of film, and they put me out of that museum too. Now, I took a picture of this, the same person, Nama Raymond at the third, but it was a poor picture. And I was frustrated, I was grumbling. They said, "Oh, don't worry about it, it'll be open in 6 months." Well, I wasn't going back to Denmark 6 months later. So what happened was, about 6 months later, in fact, not even that long, more like about 5 months later, I went back to London. And I went to another museum that was closed. And on the way to that museum, I found an art gallery. And since the museum that I wanted to see was closed, I figured, well, what the heck, I'll go in this art gallery. In the art gallery, they had a special collection, a special exhibit from that museum in Denmark. And the piece was in there. And this is how I got the photograph. How about that? Next. This is from another museum in Europe. This is all of the same king. And these images are very interesting to me. He managed to keep his nose somehow, but there's always a kind of a sadness that you see associated with this particular figure. And the big ears and the Nemes cloth, the light piece of cotton cloth. I better not spend too much time about Kemet because I don't want to steal Prince Badar's thunder. Let's go to the next one. But you got to do something about Egypt. I mean, if you ain't going to talk about Egypt, something's wrong. Any scholar has to address that. Any student has to address that. This is in the Brooklyn Museum of Fine Arts. And this is from that same period of time, and about 4,000 years ago, Dynasty 12. And once again, notice the large ears. This is either an official or a scribe of some sort. Next. Focus it. Lawrence? Yeah, I gave you this job because I knew I could count on you. Give this young man a round of applause. Okay. Now, how about this one? This is from that museum in Cambridge, too. And this is a sarcophagus. The body would have been placed in there, perfectly black. From what I've read, in ancient Egypt, black was considered the color of God. I had to really work with the students on that one. That was very difficult for them to internalize because that's a shock to their nervous system. To even imagine that one time black was considered the color of divinity, the holy color, the sacred color. And for some of us it still is, but most of us are not aware of that. And you can also see the Medu Neter, the divine speech, the so-called hieroglyphics. Next. Now, look at these. Now, I tried to show one or two of these to the students, and they just couldn't handle it. Now, I have about 5 of these, and these images that I reproduced were given to me by the great Dr. Asa Hilliard. I consider Asa Hilliard one of our greatest living scholars and one of our greatest educators, and he shares stuff. He's down at Georgia State University. He's a Fuller E. Calloway professor in Atlanta. And the thing about Asa that I like, one of the many things about him that I like, is he might be showing a picture. And I'll say, Asa, that's fantastic. He says, you want a copy? And sometimes we'll actually give you the original. That's a rare scholar. Now, these are from Dynasty 17 and 18. And these are Africans who have died, been mummified, the mummies unwrapped and photographed. So here's one. Next. Let's go to the next one. One more. And let's do the next one. Now, can you look at these and fusion about the ethnicity of these folk that are on this screen?
Of course, we're getting some good information there from Brother Ranoko Rashidi, just in reminding everyone that you're in tune to radio and TV, not television now, radio and TV, telling you the truth. Vision is almost like a tongue twister there, telling you truth, true. vision for sure. And of course, just highlighting and reminding you of the relaunch of the Institute's website, asking everyone to be front and center on Sunday, the 17th day of September, 2023. As I said, yes, we will be live on the YouTube, Priest Isaac channel, right here on the YouTube for sure. But there is a special invitation for those of you who desire to come into the VIP Zoom link, and the link is not going to be on no poster or nowhere around for you to press it. You got to email us and let us know that you'd like to be in the VIP Zoom link. As I said, many different things we will be highlighting on that day for sure. One of the things we have to bring to you is presenting the new and improved international homeschool program. This is such a beautiful poster. What think you? A beautiful flyer, as they call it. The Honorable Prince Almasi, performing this work. This is a nice one, my lord.
Yes, thanks.
Yes, definitely. And of course, as you can see, in fact, most, if not all of these flyers that you see, posters that you see, is produced by the young Olmec himself. The young Olmec would have prepared. Oh yes, this is the work of the young Olmec himself as well. I don't see his signature on this one here, but this is his work as well. Hey man, just to encourage the young ones, family. This is why you see the work that we do is very, very important. It's not just about talking and gapping and running our mouth and all of that kind of stuff. This is about enlightening the next generation, generational wealth and generational salvation and redemption we're dealing with here. All right, give thanks for the life giver, the keeper of life. So yes, again, only $2.99, definitely family, and we're talking about more videos, more activities, more content, children approved and parents recommended. We're talking about the international homeschool program. All of this is a part of the relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website. And the main feature for the day, family, is my presentation. I will be presenting my personal ancient astronomical natal chart reading document. And when you see how precise and concise and comprehensive it is, more than likely you would want to get your own copy for yourself, so you can see and you can express and you can tell anyone exactly what was taking place in the heavens when you were born. Not just where the star was in which constellation, but down to the precise and exact coordinates, especially if you know the time of your birth. Beautiful. We are going to, in a moment, return to the good brother Ranoko Roshidi, who will be giving us some more information as it relates to, the African presence in ancient civilization. But before we go there, let me just share this important word with you. This is Radio and TV.
Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity.
Sunday the 17th of September, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom and on YouTube for the official relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website, priestisaacinstitute.com. Our website has been upgraded and has been made more easily accessible to you. On priestisaacinstitute.com, you will find all that you need for your holistic growth. We offer certified courses in ancient astronomy and ancient archaeoastronomy, as well as our international homeschool program for children of all ages. At priestisaacinstitute.com, we not only offer our books, video documentaries, and webinars, we also have a available food preparation courses and cooking classes in the field of raw foods as well as ITEL plant-based cuisines. Do you shop online for your nuts, grains, etc.? We have that too. Get all your necessities from your agave, honey, spices, all your nuts and so on. Now don't forget our online clothing labeled with our icons. You can get your sweaters, t-shirts, even hoodies. The Tiger's Nest. And speaking of the Tiger's Nest, Radio Anu International, 24-hour internet radio, giving you positive, conscious information and inspiration throughout the day. Again, on the 17th of September 2023, mark the date, from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom or on the Priest Isaac's YouTube channel for the official relaunch of PriestIsaacInstitute.com. Zoom VIPs will receive a special gift. To get your Zoom link, go to the website PriestIsaacInstitute.com or email us at PriestIsaacInstitute@gmail.com. 17th of September. Be there.
Oh, definitely. We are already there for sure. Give thanks continually for the life giver and the keeper of life. Hey, reminding your family for sure, this is Radio Anu TV, telling you truth, vision. Yeah, getting that straight now for sure. So let a friend know, share the link. Those of you who are definitely watching with us, press the link in the description to take you to the website for sure. And of course, press the like button, the thumbs up button, and let someone know that you are listening to Radio Anu TV. Share the link. Whether you share it on YouTube, whether you share it on Facebook, whether you share it on Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now, whether you share it on what else you do, TikTok, you share things on TikTok, just share it. Let them know that you're listening to Radio Anu TV. And, every Sunday we come here to spend a moment with you. Every Sunday we come here to spend a moment with you and definitely take it to another level. So as I said, family, looking forward to your presence next Sunday with us. Yes, right here on Radio Anu TV. But for sure, I'm talking about more specifically the relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website. And make sure you put yourself in order to get your natal chart reading. I will be presenting my natal chart, Ancient Astronomical Natal Chart Reading documentary. So make sure you are in the house and prepare yourself to get yours. All right, as we said, we will continue with our good brother Ronoko Roshidi, giving thanks.
But the children laugh.
Yeah?
Because they're not used to seeing that. Next. This is an image of a warrior king. Reminds me of Baba Heru. This is Tutmos III. This is a nephew of Hatshepsut. He was on the throne for 54 years. Tradition says he conquered 17 nations. He led 17 military campaigns in person and conquered 105 nations. Next. This is one of his descendants. This is a rare picture, an image of a man named Amenhotep II. We don't see many images of him. Next. This is Queen Tai. Now, this is not necessarily my A-grade slide presentation, but these are very new images, and I think they are good ones indeed. Queen Tai is the mother of Akhenaten and King Tut. She is the wife of Amenhotep III, and you've probably seen the little wooden head of her that's in the museum in Germany. This is in the Louvre, the National Museum in France. Next. And this is her son, her oldest son. This is Akhenaten. Look at those lips. The lips don't lie. The words may be false, but the lips don't lie. Akhenaten is sometimes called the world's first monotheist. A man named Sigmund Freud certainly thought so. James Henry Breasted regarded him as such. He inaugurated a revolution in art. And this is from a museum in walking distance of the British Museum in London. And this museum is called the Petrie Museum. Let me show you another one next. Now look at the soldiers here. This is during the middle of Dynasty 18. The art is very different. And let me show you two other images of that artistic trend. Next. Here. Next. And this one. This is during what Egyptologists traditionally call the Amarna period. This is the age of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Next. Now this is also in the Louvre in Paris. Now you know that's the sister. I didn't show this one in the school. Next. Next. This is a figure named Ramses III. Not Ramses the Great, Ramses III, who was great himself. He is on the throne for 31 years during Dynasty 20. We don't study Dynasty 20 very much. And this is the lid of his sarcophagus or coffin. He is important to us because he repulsed two invasions of Egypt by peoples called the peoples of the sea. Now this is the lid of the coffin. Let me show you what's inside his tomb. These figures right here. This is in Egypt. This is one of the few images from actually still in Egypt. And this is in the Valley of the Kings in Luxor. Next. This takes us to the tail end of the dynasties. This is an African woman named Amenirdas. She is governor of the largest, most powerful city in the world called Waset. The Greeks called it Thebes, and this is a part of modern-day Luxor. It's from the term Luxor that we derive the modern term luxury. And perhaps one of the most important things I try to instill this week, and I do all the time, is the importance and stature of African women and how they were highly respected. You could not dare disrespect the black woman in antiquity. Next. This is her nephew, and I took this photograph myself. This is in the British Museum in London, and this is the man named Taharqa, who led at least 2, maybe 3 armies to Jerusalem to save his Jewish allies. When he was a prince, he led an army all the way from the Nile Valley to Spain. That's in ancient Spanish documents. As a king, when he was coronated, he sent for his mother way down in inner Africa to come and see him coronated king of Upper and Lower Egypt. I'm very touched by the sentiment there. And Dr. John Henry Clark, one of our greatest scholars, one of our greatest ancestors, said that this man took us on our last great walk in the sun. Next. This is from Kush, or Nubia. This was on display in the British Museum in London in October, and you see a queen mother called a Kentake, K-E-N-T-A-K-E, with an African goddess. I was in one of the schools, and there was a brother from the Sudan, and he kind of looked at me funny as if to say, how come you didn't talk about Nubia? How come you didn't talk about Kush? I don't know if he was here today, but I mentioned I would show at least 1 or 2 slides from there. Next. This one is also in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge, and this is a Nubian wrestling with being attacked by a crocodile. And apparently the brother is not letting him sweat it, not letting the croc sweat him too much. It doesn't seem to be a big deal. I made a real special effort to photograph this one too. I waited until nobody was looking, and then I photographed it 3 or 4 times. I'm prepared to go to great lengths to get these photographs, offering bribes, whatever it takes, so I can come to Philly and share these. Next. These are the gods and goddesses, some of them, of ancient Africa. This, for example, is a real buff version of the god named Amen, and is from the name Amen that, of course, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, we derive the expression Amen. Next. This is the god known as Ptah, And he is the patron of craftsmen. He is the patron of artists. And there's a whole trinity that focuses on him and his wife, Sekhmet, painted black. Next. This is Het Heru, or the house of Heru, the queen of heaven, the golden one. She's identified with the sycamore tree. Apparently she comes from Inner Africa, and she is one of Africa's most ancient goddesses. And you see her associated also with the cow. And she has these cow horns. She is a mother goddess, a nurturing goddess. And the Greeks are later to take their goddess Aphrodite and develop a relationship between Aphrodite and Het Heru. And the Romans take Het Heru and identify her with their goddess called Venus. But her character changes with the culture. Next. This is the eye of Heru. Not Baba Heru's eye, but this is a beautiful faience piece. Next. And then you have this one. Now this isn't new, I show this all the time. You can put this in my coffin with me, because I'm gonna be showing it on my way to wherever I'm going when this life is over. Put a slide projector and a screen in there and I'll be all right. This one is one of the most important ones, and a lot of the students have a hard time with this. Now, we're not supposed to be talking about religion in the classroom, and so I say that this is a historical document. I photographed this one in Egypt, in the Coptic Museum, not far from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. I wasn't supposed to have a camera again. I had one. I waited until I didn't see anybody. I pulled out the camera, I focused, I was about to click. I felt a firm tap on my shoulder and a voice in my ear saying, "Sir, no photography allowed." It was a museum official. I gave him $1. He said, "Okay." I gave him another $1. He says, "Why don't you use a flash, you get a better picture." This is called Christ in, that's a true story. This is a little elaboration. This is called Christ in Glory. It's an image of Jesus emerging from his tomb after the crucifixion. If you look closely, you can see blood in his hands where he was supposedly nailed to the cross. I don't care if you believe in historicity or not. My point is, our perception of the color of God is fundamental. And that is what I am trying to indoctrinate people with. Our perception of the color of God is fundamental. If white people want to worship him or her, as a European, as a Caucasian with blonde hair and blue eyes, I don't have a problem with that. But don't expect me to follow lockstep with that. I want to believe that when we look in the mirror, we are seeing a reflection of God in ourselves. People will tell you, and I heard it all week, but I wasn't taking any prisoners. I heard it all week. But Dr. Rashidi, the color of God doesn't matter. My response was consistent. Why is he white all the time then? If it don't matter, it does matter. Let me show you another very powerful image, and the children had a few problems with this too. I would start off by asking them, for the most part, what do you think of when you think of Africa? And some answers would be very constant, consistent. There would be wild animals, people with diseases, especially AIDS and HIV, starving people, poverty, and slavery. And so I said, really? And so I would attempt to break down each one of those myths, each one of those perceptions. Now, this is a photograph that I saw in another art gallery in Scotland, in Edinburgh, in October. And then, unfortunately, they wouldn't let me take a picture, and they were serious this time. And there was no postcard, and it wasn't in a book. So all I could do was look at it and write some notes down. And then lo and behold, the next country I went to, Turkey, I found an expensive book and it had this picture in there. So I reproduced the book for I reproduced the photograph for your perusal. What you have is a painting about 300 years old, and it supposedly is a slave market in Cairo. We're still in Egypt. But you have a little difference here. The slaves are white women. The auctioneer is a black man in a turban, and the person who's purchasing the slaves are white people. And so my point was, Slavery is not confined to Africans. And when you think of slavery, you should not think of black people. And they had a bit of a difficult time with that one, but you could see some of the children clap their hands with glee. Next. Now, these are 2 or 3 images from outside of the Nile Valley. This image I got in Athens, Greece, in the Benakis Museum, and this is called Moses the Ethiopian. Next. This is an image from one of the churches in Ethiopia, in Gondar. And what you find in Ethiopia, too, is a disturbing trend. There's more of a tendency to have white images of Jesus. And in the churches, the brothers tell you that most of the people who come here are from Europe. And they bring these paintings. And we hang them on our walls because we have to survive. So I went all over the place in Ethiopia handing out the pictures of the Black Christ. And they were very happy to get them. Next. Focus it. And this one is from Nigeria. I haven't been to Nigeria yet. And most Nigerians will tell you, if you haven't been to Nigeria, you haven't been to Africa. Next. These are the people of Africa. And I usually, when I'm in the schools, show lots of photographs. She is from the next country that I'm going to visit, and that country is called Mali. Next. She is from Niger. That's where they claimed, no, reverse it. Go back, Lawrence. You're going the wrong way. One more. Yeah. She is from the country that President Bush, your president, claimed that Saddam Hussein was going to get the yellow cake uranium to blow up the United States. In Niger. Next. She is from Chad. And these are postcards that I picked up the last time I was in Paris. Chad is in Central Africa. And it's an interesting country. You got blue-black Africans there, which I wish I looked like. And, because that's fair skin to me. And Chad is also a country where you found the oldest archaic human remains. You find bones in Chad within the last couple years, 7 to 9 million years old of human antiquity. Next. These are children in Ethiopia. Now, I went to Ethiopia last March, and I really came close to just breaking down and crying like a baby. People tell me sometimes one of the criticisms we have of you African-centered scholars, and they put me in that category, is that y'all just talk about Egypt all the time. What about the rest of Africa? Isn't Ethiopia an ancient country too? And so when I got the opportunity to go to Ethiopia, free of charge I might add, I jumped at the opportunity. All I had to do was give a few lectures, and I was happy to go. I would have paid to go. But if you don't have to, you can save that money for something else. And after a day or two, I was literally overwhelmed. You travel around the capital, Addis, and then you go to the north, you go to Lalibela, you go to Gondar, you go to the Simeon Mountains, and whenever you pull up in your vehicle, you are immediately surrounded by little children, raggedy, dirty, flies all over their eyes, runny noses, and they are begging for anything and everything, a penny, a nickel, a pencil, an empty plastic bottle. And when you see so much of that, it really takes hold of you. Some people have said that Ethiopia is the Haiti of Africa, and that because of the tradition of Menelik thrashing the Italian army at Adwa in 1896, the Europeans decided to make an example of Ethiopia. And the poverty for me was overwhelming. Perhaps the worst part about it was that a colleague of mine who was a physician took it upon himself to examine the hands. I don't know why. And I can see why he would examine the eyes of the children. So he would examine the hands and the eyes. And one of the places we went to, he lifted up the eyelid of a 5-year-old child, and there was a big dead fly underneath there. And so we had a dilemma. What do we do? Do we give them everything we have and create a culture of begging and dependency? Or do we just try to be strong and pretend that we don't see what we're seeing? And it was really difficult. So when we finally got back to Addis, the capital, the people in the hotel, the Hilton Hotel, remembered us. And one of these sisters asked me, how did you like the northern part of my country? And I said, it was horrible. And I could tell I deeply offended her. And I said, I liked the country, but the poverty was very difficult. And at that point, I really came very close to cracking. I had to just get away from the group, and I went in my room and cried for a long time. I'm a 50-year-old man, but I admit I cried like a child. I could not control myself. Now, I can see that kind of poverty in India and kind of halfway deal with it, because I've seen it much worse there. But when you are in Africa, and people look just like you, and then the question they would ask us is, why have you abandoned your sisters and brothers? Why have you turned your back on us? That was rough, sisters and brothers. And these are the children of Ethiopia. I think you can see the sadness in their faces, and these children were much better off than most of the ones we saw. Next. And here's one more right here. And you don't even have to say anything. Next. This image is from a postcard that somebody in France gave me, and it's from Ethiopia, but it looks like it could also be Niger or somewhere in West Africa. Next. From Djibouti, in the Horn of Africa. Next. And from South Africa. Now, I know these look like a lot of folk that you know, in South Philly and North Philly and Germantown. Isn't that a wonderful photograph right here? Next. From Namibia in Southwest Africa. Let's go to the next one. And this child is from Algeria. A lot of us are not even aware that you have black people in this part of Africa, in Tunisia, in Algeria, in Libya, etc. Next. This is a sister from Mauritania. Mauritania, Niger, Sudan in particular are countries that where slavery is still practiced, and African people are bought and sold. Where is the public outcry? Next. These are all images of black women in Mali and Mauritania in Northwest Africa. Next. Next. Now, these are a few African heroes. This is Kwame Nkrumah from the Nkrumah Memorial in Accra, Ghana. Next. And this is a photograph of a very important African. I bet most of you all don't know who he is. His name is Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso. The name Burkina Faso means the land of the tall standing men. And I'll be visiting Burkina Faso after I leave Mali. I'll be speaking at a big conference there with Molefe Asante. Next. Uh-oh, this is Renoko Rashidi. I'll be on one of Asa Hilliard's trips, on my first trip to Ghana 2 years ago. And this is me doing my thing with my camera, my nice Olmec shirt. Gary Young, eat your heart out, I know you want it. And then the lake up there. This is Lake Busumti, I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's a lake that's sacred to the Asante people. Next. And I think the last picture of me in this section of it is I got talked into putting on this robe simply because I went with Asa Hilliard to a village called Monkranso, and Asa said, this is my colleague. They wanted to make me a chief. I had to give that a lot of thought, but they insisted that I put this robe on and these sandals that I found to be very uncomfortable and march in a grand durbar or procession, and it was hot, and I was carrying a parasol. And the robe was falling off my shoulder, and the sandals were hurting my feet. And every now and then I would look up at Asa and give him the evil eye, and even now he says, Renoko, I owe you one. Maybe that's why he gave me those photographs from Kemet early on. Next. Now, this takes us outside of Africa for the first time, and this is an image from ancient Lebanon, and this is from a place called Beers Nimrod. Now, not only do you see a lot of the noses missing from the statues in Kemet, but you see that to some extent in Europe and Asia also. This is, I'd say, about 2,700 years old. Next. And this is a black woman in a country called Yemen. Yemen is just on the other side of the Red Sea, across from Somalia and Eritrea. And you have African people who have been there for a very long time. In fact, most of us believe that this was a part of the domain of the Queen of Sheba. Next. and a brother also from Yemen on the other side of the Red Sea in the Arabian Peninsula. Next. I clipped this one from a Final Call newspaper. And this is a black woman in Palestine. In fact, both of them look like they're black to me, but certainly this sister is unmistakable, and there's an image of Yasser Arafat. So you have Africans all over the world. And that's the other message we're trying to get, that we are a global people, we're not a minority, and you should see yourself as a global person. Next. This takes us to a very important place that I visited in November, and this is from Turkey. And this is from the Anatolian Civilizations Museum in the capital of Ankara, and this looks like it is from Kemet. And so you can see the ancient influence. Next. And then you also see the influence of African people in the Ottoman Empire. And one of the things that the Ottoman Turks did is they practiced castration. And they would take boys, many of them were black, and castrate them when they were very young. Cut off their genital organs to some extent or another. Most of them would die, but a small percentage of them lived, and they were used to guard the harems of the Ottoman Turkish sultans. Now you have black eunuchs and you have white eunuchs. Don't worry, I didn't show any of that in the schools. You have black eunuchs and white eunuchs, because I want to come back again. And the black eunuchs achieved a higher status. In fact, the chief of the black eunuchs was considered the fourth most powerful person in the Ottoman Empire. And he was the only person, the chief of the black eunuchs, who had access to the Sultan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. After their service for the Sultan, they would retire to Egypt, where it was said they lived a golden existence. So let me show you a few images, and these are very rare photographs. And these are, I got in Istanbul. Next. 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 And here's one with the Sultan. Next. Now you also, and then you have a series of what appear to be black men behind this image. I think this is Suleiman the Magnificent, and you can see what appears to be a whole row of brothers back there. Next. And then you have the women in the harem. Now I know black women, beautiful as they are, black women are beautiful, are they not? Give them a round of applause. Give the sisters a round of applause. We have to work on that too in the schools because of the perception of beauty. There's the clear perception that the lighter you are, the more attractive you are. I mean, that's almost unwritten, but unmistakable. And you can even see the body language of the students. They get fidgety sometimes. And the lighter-skinned students tend to have a more of a smug, self-assured look on their face. And the darker-skinned students seem to have a sense of inferiority for the most part. Like they want to be. And these things become very clear to me when I'm in the classrooms. We have hundreds of years of damage to undo. Hundreds of years of indoctrination to repair. Now, in Turkey, however, in the harems, the African women seem to have generally had a subservient position. For example, this sister who's about to throw down is a dancer in the harem. Next. And then you have images like this of black women as servants. But this sister is beautiful to me, and I really like the color that she has. Next. And then you have images like this. These are all from the Turkish harems in Istanbul. Next. And then you have something else interesting. I went to a part of Turkey called Cappadocia, and this is an area where a lot of Christians went to because they were trying to escape persecution from the Romans or by the Romans. And a lot of them actually lived in these caves. And some of them actually dug entire underground cities, sometimes 500 feet deep in the earth, and lived there when the Romans were trying to get after them. And what I drew from that was, this is a people serious about liberation. And that's what we have to be. We have to be serious about liberation. Why isn't this auditorium full? This is a free event. It's a Saturday afternoon, it ain't snowing. A lot of people don't want to know. And that's the scariest thing of all. You confront that too. It's one thing not to know, but it's another thing not to want to know. And that is an evil that we are also confronted with. Let's go to the next one. And then this was an interesting one. I think it's out of order though. This is called Mary's house. And the people in Turkey believe that this is where Mary, mother of Jesus, went after the crucifixion of Christ. Supposedly John took her there and she lived there for the last 8 years of her life. Now I didn't believe that. I was very skeptical. And I kept telling my tour guide, I don't really want to go there if we can find something else to do. And he would say, okay, I'm going to revise the itinerary. He would give it back to me, and there would be certain things that would be changed, but Mary's house was never one of them. It would always be there. And I kind of said, who's paying for this, me or you? And it would still be on the itinerary. So one morning, after I thought we had resolved the issue, my guide pulls up, and I said, where's this? He says, Mary's house. And I kind of looked at him like, I don't speak Turkish, but I thought we made this clear. He said, oh, you're going to like it, you're going to like it. I said, yeah, yada, yada, yada. And I only had one roll of film left, and I had one more city to visit. And so I said, should I bring my camera? And he said, well, yeah, why not? So I brought the camera, and we went to Mary's house. Now, the door was open, and there was a nun, white nun, young lady, sitting right there. Pilgrims were lined up to get in there, people from all over the world. Even the Pope has gone there. And they really believe that this is Mary's house. But I was skeptical. It was a big sign, once again, no photography. And they were looking at me. And then there was another sign that said, no conversation allowed in Mary's house. So once again, I said, you know, what are we here for? And he said, just come on, let's see it. So we went inside Mary's house. Let's go to the next slide. And I'm looking around, and all at once, on this altar, I saw this black statue. So I talked to my guy, I said, I wonder how old it is. And he says, wait a minute, I'll go ask her. I said, don't do that, don't do that. He said, no, I'm going to ask her. So I said, okay. And actually, I followed him, thinking, well, she might say something that might be interesting. So we walk over to the nun, and she don't even raise up her eyes and look at me. I don't exist. She's talking to the white man, the white Turk. And he says, my employer wants to know how old this statue is. She says, there's no talking in here. He says, but he's a scholar. He says, well, if you want to have a few brief words, we can go outside. So we went outside, and she says she thinks it's about, she still's not looking at me now, like I'm a pet, and I don't warrant attention. And so she says, it's about 500 years old. It came from Egypt to Ethiopia, I think, and that the color black represents something profound. I was satisfied with that and ready to go. But it seemed like she now wanted to show us how much she knew. So she started talking about the crown and the arms and the clothes and how she was holding the baby. And I said, just to break the monotony, as if this is a segue to saying thank you very much, adios amigo, I said, you know, I've seen a few of these. And she looked at me for the first time. She says, really? I said, yeah. I said, I saw one and two of them in Russia. I saw one in Spain. I just saw one in France. Really? I said, yeah. She says, well, this one came from Egypt to Ethiopia, but it was most recently in France. I said, is that right? I said, where in France? She said, Le Puy. I said, Le Puy? I said, I've been trying to see that black Madonna for 20 years. She said, really? And so the people started to gather. And I looked around, I was rusty, I hadn't given a lecture in a couple weeks, I figured this was my opportunity. Now here I am, outside of Mary's house, and I'm giving a lecture. And I said, well, you know, Joan of Arc used to pray in front of this Madonna every day. And the Second Crusade was launched from the site of Le Puy. She said, really? And she's getting really excited. And Turks and Greeks and Italians and Spanish and Japanese started to gather around. And I'm just feeling myself now. I'm giving reference, scripture, and verse. And so all at once she got very excited. She ran in Mary's house, got the Madonna, and brought it outside. I couldn't believe it. And I said, can I photograph it? She said, yeah. I said, can I touch it? She said, yeah. So this is the photograph. Let's go to the next one. You can see. And then she put the statue down and ran back inside Mary's house. Now, the first thing I'm thinking was, you know what I was thinking? I'm wondering if this will fit in my knapsack. And would I be able to get to the airport before the Turkish army came after me? But there were too many people around. And so she came back and she had a bunch of religious literature. She went back inside and came back with a bunch of religious literature and held my hand like a lover for about 5 minutes and would not let me go. And says, we are this Catholic order, we're getting ready to go to Africa, we need advice, and we don't have any black people in our order, and can you take this information and spread it to the black community? Now, you know, the first thing I'm thinking was, how can I get rid of this right quick? But I took it anyway, just as a souvenir, and that's a true story. This is the Black Madonna and Child from Mary's house in Ephesus in Turkey. Next.
All right, give thanks to Brother Ranoko Rashidi for such information, such knowledge. Of course, a brother that has been doing this for such a quite a long time. Of course, yes, an ancestor. Would have traveled the world, would have highlighted the Black presence, of course, in Africa. But he more, you know, highlights the Black presence in Asia and, of course, in the Americas, in Australia, in Iceland, all over the world. Brother Ranoko Rashidi would have gone. The slides that he shows, the vast majority of them are pictures that he himself would have taken, and he has a lot. His catalog is vast. So we definitely give thanks for a brother that is exhibited such strength and such works. Hey, family, give thanks for your presence with us at this moment. You are definitely in tune to Radio and TV. Tell a friend, share the link, like the video. I'm going to be here with you for a moment. I'm going to be here with you for a while, just keeping a meditation, listening to some good inspiration. I have some news for you coming up so you can know what's taking place for sure on the African continent. And at the same time, we got some good vibration, good meditation, good melody, good lectures, all of that right here on Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice. And of course, I'm just reminding you to make sure that you be with us. Make sure you get your Zoom link for Sunday, the 17th of September. Everyone will be there for sure for what is known as the relaunch of our website. The relaunch of our website, I'm talking about the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me just share some information with you.
Sunday the 17th of September, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom and on YouTube for the official relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website, priestisaacinstitute.com. Our website has been upgraded and has been made more easily accessible to you. On priestisaacinstitute.com, you will find all that you need for your holistic growth. We offer certified courses in ancient astronomy and ancient archaeoastronomy, as well as our international homeschool program for children of all ages. At priestisaacinstitute.com, we not only offer our books, video documentaries, and webinars, we also have available food preparation courses and cooking classes in the field of raw foods as well as ITIL plant-based cuisines. Do you shop online for your nuts, grains, etc.? We have that too. Get all your necessities from your agave, honey, spices, all your nuts, and so on. Now, don't forget our online clothing labeled with our icons. You can get your sweaters, t-shirts, even hoodies. The Tiger's Nest. And speaking of the Tiger's Nest, Radio Anu International, 24-hour internet radio, giving you positive, conscious information and inspiration throughout the day. Again, on the 17th of September 2023, mark the date from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom or on the Priest Isaac's YouTube channel for the official relaunch of priestisaacInstitute.com. Zoom VIPs will receive a special gift. To get your Zoom link, go to the website priestisaacInstitute.com or email us at priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. 17th of September. Be there.
When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black and the green around me. For in the new life I shall rise up with God's grace and blessing to lead the millions of the heights and the triumph that you well know. Look for me in a world when there is storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and rights.
Emperor Haile Selassie I has a specific alignment with a little spoken of Kushite deity Neter known as Apedimek. The conquering line hath prevailed.
Blessed be the name of wonderful Savior. Fountain of wisdom, ancient of days. Oh, for the faithful light upon ages. My Savior, even I praise. Blessed the Redeemer, praise the Contender. Now and forever dwell down.
And once again, give thanks for your presence with us exactly 19 minutes now after the hour of 8 o'clock in the AM. And again, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you, talking about Radio and TV. Real thing, Rasta. Keeping your company at the moment. Just gliding through the uprising. Oh, morning now. Good morning. Uprising. Ra is rising. Tell me. as it relates to the apology by the Gladstone's family and reparation and all of that stuff. I did a program a few evenings ago on the Tiger's Nest. I'm talking about the Tiger's Nest radio program on radio and the international flavor, the universal spice. So in a moment, I'm going to give you a little bit of that, and you can tell me what you think.
For the terrorist activities, the Boko Haram, the ISIS, the Al Qaeda. So at night they are supporting the terror.
You hear that? Boko Haram.
We don't know if France is involved. And I need you to be clear about that. We do not know if France is involved. So we need to take time. This situation is too fresh. It is too fluid. It's premature for us to make a statement to say France is not involved. I have reservations when it comes to that. France is very conniving. Do not underestimate the games that France can play. We have France right now that is responsible with other countries, of course, for the terrorist activities, the Boko Haram, the ISIS, the Al Qaeda. So at night they are supporting the terrorists. During the day they are working with the government. They are occupying those countries in the name of fighting terrorism, the terrorism that they created. So please, let's not forget. I am not ready to say France is not involved. France is very conniving. It will be foolish of us to think that France is not involved at this time. I'm saying let's take some time, push back. Let's continue to listen to the generals. Yes, I did listen to the speech of the general. Yes, I did notice that they said nothing about France. They said nothing about neo-colonization. They said nothing about imperialism. Let's wait and see exactly the direction in which the generals are taking us. But I would hold off claiming that France is not involved. I would hold off on that because I don't trust France. They're very conniving. You will be surprised down the road that to some extent they might have been involved. They work both parties. They are working both sides. They're very good at it. And they're doing it right now, even with the fight against terrorism. So please be careful when you say France is not involved.
Okay, but Dr. Kwa, what do you think of African leaders?
All right, beautiful. You hold on, my brother. Thanks for your information. So, all right, family. So you got it there specifically. And I think that that's some good advice. What think you? Yes, I would say that's some good advice going into the future. So again, although it may have been a day old as such, after this program, just make sure you stay tuned for the Tiger's Nest from previous night, so-called last night. I mean, it's still as fresh can get. Now, what I want to go straight into, this is a report coming out of ABC News, and it's highlighting the situation in Guyana. And I'm just going to read this for you. Georgetown, Guyana. Now, for those who don't know where Guyana is, and let me just say blessed love to all the people in Guyana that's well in tune to the Tiger's Nest. Now, Guyana is considered really somewhat of a Caribbean country, you know. It's considered a Caribbean nation, but it's in South America. And Guyana, I think the majority are of African descent, but there's also a strong Indian population, Indian in the sense of the Indians that came from India as indentured servants. The same thing can be said of Trinidad. So basically, it's almost 50-50. That's why sometimes, especially in Guyana, you have an Indian government, then you have a black government, then you have an Indian government, then you have a black government. Guyana is known for that. Trinidad as well plays a little of that kind of checkers, they are chess or whatever you want to call it. So it's tricky because the Guyanese prime minister, he's an individual that is very vocal as it relates to reparation. But you see, this reparation stuff, you know, it's very technical, and it's funny too, because the Guyanese president, he is Indian. When I say Indian, a real Indian now, people from India. And the Indian population in the Caribbean, Guyana, Trinidad, and wherever else they were, as I said, they didn't come here as slaves as such. They didn't come here for sure. They didn't come here like how our people came here. They came here almost as laborers then. Yes, we were laborers, but what we were beyond laborers, man. We were just what they called it, slaves, slavery. That's some real prisoner work. But the Indians now, they came under lighter treatment to the point that they developed a whole community. That is why people like to say the Rastas got the locks from the Indians, the Sadhus. The Rastas got the marijuana or hemp smoking from the Indians, and the Rastas got this and that from them. Because they came here with their culture. Nobody took away the name. That's why they still name Ram Singh and Rakhum Maraj. That's what their name is. You go to Guyana and Trinidad, they still have the Indian names. That's why they still praise the Indian gods. You go to Trinidad, at least 1 out of every 10 houses, you see Vishnu, or you see Ganesh, or you see some sort of Hindu tradition. So they were not hit with the same stick that we were hit with, that's for sure. That's why we, according to some historians, that's why we could have taken certain aspects of their culture and applied it to us, because they had their culture. Whether it was the locks of the sadhus or the marijuana smoking, for whatever reason, marijuana wasn't illegal for them. Good. So, as a psychological historian, I like to look at this from many different angles. So when the Prime Minister of Guyana is speaking about reparation, he's speaking of Guyanese reparation. You see, that's why even in the USA, a lot of us, you hear us talk about reparation. It's on a different level. Because now, remember, the colonies were just that, colonies of specific European countries. So you have people in the former French colonies seeking reparation from France. You have people in the former Spanish colonies
seeking reparation from Spain. British colonies seeking reparation from England. The Black Americans seeking reparations from America. This is some interesting stuff, eh? But yet still, America in general has its own reparation argument. Many of us don't even know that. It doesn't have to do with black and white. Remember, America is a former colony of Britain too. So America in itself, there are factions of politicians that are fighting for American reparation in general. Then now, there are those that argue that reparations, this is in the American context now, should be local, should be state, because of course each state had their own laws as it relates to slavery too. So that's why it tends to get technical at times. So now in Guyana again, we have former British colony, by the way. We have the descendant of a former, saying all these farmer, and nothing farmer, the same thing going on up to now. But anyway, just to be politically correct. We have descendants of former slave masters, or specifically a former British prime minister. These descendants came down to Guyana to apologize for what was done by their ancestors. So let me just read this article here and then we get into the discussion a bit more. So it says here, give thanks to those who are just coming in, by the way. Descendants of a British owner of slaves in Guyana apologize as Caribbean nation seeks reparation. The descendants of a 19th century Scottish sugar and coffee planter who owned thousands of slaves in Guyana have apologized for the sins of their forefathers and called slavery a crime against humanity. Sins, eh? And by the way, this article is the 25th of August, 2023. Good. The descendants of a 19th century Scottish sugar and coffee planter who owned thousands of slaves in Guyana apologized Friday for the sins of their ancestor, calling slavery a crime against humanity with lasting negative impacts. Okay, ancestors. Charles Gladstone, a descendant of former plantation owner John Gladstone, traveled to Guyana from Britain with 5 relatives to offer the formal apology. These are his words, and we quote, "It is with deep shame and regret that we acknowledge our ancestors' involvement in this crime, and with heartfelt sincerity, we apologize to the descendants of the enslaved in Guyana," he told an audience at the University of Guyana. "In doing so, we acknowledge slavery's continuing impact on the daily lives of many." Neither Guyana President Irfan Ali, who on Thursday demanded reparations and lashed out at the descendants of European slave traders, nor other senior government officials were in the audience of a couple hundred students, university staff members, and representatives of grassroots organizations. During the speech, Gladstone announced that his family would create a fund for various unnamed projects in the country as a part of a meaningful, this is a quote, as a part of a meaningful, in quotations, and long-term relationship between our family and the people of Guyana, unquote. In writing this, he continues to say, in writing this heartfelt apology, we also acknowledge Sir John Gladstone's role in bringing indentured laborers to Guyana, the Indians now, and apologize for the clear and manifold injustices of this. John Gladstone was the father of the 19th century British Prime Minister William Ewart Gladstone, and received more than £100,000 in compensation for hundreds of slaves. A renowned 1823 slave revolt. Listen to this, family. This is important history for those of us who do not know this history here. A renowned 1823 slave revolt took place on his estate as Success Village, that's the name of a place, on Guyana's east coast, at Success, Village, on Guyana's east coast. The Demerara Rebellion was crushed in 2 days, with hundreds of slaves killed. Some enslaved people were beheaded and had their heads planted on poles on the way to Georgetown, Guyana's colonial and current capital, as a lesson to others with similar ideas. Outside of the auditorium where Gladstone made the apology, a handful of protesters shouted, "Murderers!" Oh my. And held signs reading, "The Gladstones are murderers," and "Stolen people, stolen dreams." Oh my, that's a bit harsh, don't you think? I mean, they came from thus far to say they're sorry. What do you think? I mean, some people never even said anything. Some people never even said, well, you know what my papi did to you was wrong. Some people never even considered setting up a fund or projects, you know, for our benefit. You understand what I'm saying? So they came from thus far to say sorry. Oh my, don't you think it's a bit harsh that we were outside calling them murderers? Murderers! Your papi killed murderers! Oh my. I mean, if there were any, you know, kind-hearted, you know, Europeans, descendants of former slave owners that wanted to do something similar, we would have scared them off. What think you? Don't you think we need to be a bit more timid when people come to apologize? I'm just asking. I wouldn't go and shout murderers. That's me. You know, I'm not upset with those who did it. In fact, they need some of that, just to be straight with you. But I know I wouldn't do it like that. Yes, but give thanks. The leader of the protest, Cedric Castello, dismissed the apology as perfunctory. I must admit, that's a new word there for me. And said Britain and other European countries owed Guyana and the Caribbean billions of dollars in reparation payment. All right, so family, you get the idea there. In fact, what I'm going to do is we're going to get hot now. What I'm going to do, I want to give you an idea of what is taking place even in Guyana. And then we're going to get into what the British Prime Minister, what's his name now, Sunak, has to say as it relates to Britain's apology for slavery. All right, let's go straight to Guyana.
An apology delivered, described in Guyana by some as bittersweet and others as not enough.
To the people of Guyana,
it was offered by descendants of the 19th century British Prime Minister William Gladstone, whose father John owned over 2,000 slaves on sugar plantations.
It is with deep shame and regret that we acknowledge our ancestors' involvement in this crime, and with heartfelt sincerity that we apologize to the descendants of the enslaved in Guyana.
For some, the apology is an affront. Protesters held placards at the back of the room, some reading, "Reparations now." The Guyanese president says the apology can only be seen as a first step.
The call for reparations is an essential response to right a historical wrong and mitigate the enduring legacy of slavery.
The blades of history are sharp, and the Gladstones aren't the first to grapple with the sins of their forebears. John Dower and other family members apologized for their ancestors' role in the slave trade on Grenada.
This wound that was created over the last 400 years is absolutely huge.
He and the Gladstones are part of a group called the Heirs of Slavery.
We are trying to pave a way and trying to be part of a campaign to persuade bigger institutions, the government, and maybe even the royal family to apologise and to engage in reparative negotiations.
Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has refused to officially apologise here, pressed in Parliament.
But trying to unpick our history is not the right way forward, and is not something that we will focus our energies on.
Last month, the Dutch King Willem-Alexander formally apologized for the Netherlands' historic role in the slave trade, following the Dutch government's the year before. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
I'm telling you, a lot of people be crying at these events. A lot of black people sobbing for these apologies, you know. So what I want to highlight, in 1823, there was an uprising. There was an uprising in Guyana, as you specifically heard a moment ago. And it was against the very same Gladstone slave master plantation. This was in Success Village. It was a success any which way you put it. And we decided to kill some crackers, you know, as we would have decided to do several times in the Caribbean, because, you know, we have that spirit, you know, we don't have no time to play. We sit down and instigate some sort of way to come and cut your head off your body. We don't play around, you know. But anyway, Mr. Gladstone, he was very glad that he got to crush our rebellion. And that has gone down in history as the Demerara Rebellion. So when the new Gladstone came to say that he was sorry, he came on the 200th anniversary of that affair. The apology that was just issued there was issued on the 200th anniversary of the uprising in Success Village, known as the Demerara Rebellion. Now, these kind of things could either be a slap in the face, because you know, when you do things on an anniversary of something. Okay, for example, the fella that killed the 3 people at in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, the other day at the dollar store. They said that in his so-called manifesto, killers have manifesto now, he highlighted some sort of shooting that took place in the same area. I think it was 10 years prior to that. So he did his killing on the anniversary then of some other thing that I guess would have inspired him. That's why every 9/11 and certain specific days, security gets hiked up, because people like to use anniversaries to launch their attacks. Now, this could be a military move right in front of our eyes, not because they didn't come with guns, not because they didn't come with bombs, they came with apologies. Now, once bitten, twice shy. You know that phrase? That means if a dog bites you and you see the dog again, you're not gonna, come boy, come boy. No. Once bitten, twice shy. Laura Trevelyan. Well, maybe you see the thing with Laura Trevelyan now, a lot of us got bitten and we're not even aware that she bit us. Remember, she just came down just a few months ago now. A similar trick.
coming from a wealthy aristocrat family and came down to Grenada and dropped £100,000 on them. How many people in Grenada? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people living in Grenada. That's like $1 a person. She came and gave everybody in Grenada $1 and said, sorry for slavery. That's Laura Trevelyan. And she didn't even give them. She gave them and took it back and said, we're going to use this to create a fund for something we're going to do. Research cancer or research something that we gave to you, some disease that you people have, and that we are the foundation of it, but we're going to build a whole building just to research it as if we don't know where it came from. All right, well, take back your $1. Well, I can't take it back. I didn't really give it to you as yet, because I didn't get it yet. I have to wait until BBC gives me my money. I wanted they gave her money yet. So you ain't got no other money? I thought you were an aristocrat. You don't have £100,000 nowhere else? You have to wait until BBC pays you? Man, that's a real scam, Rasta. That's like somebody owe you money. You understand? Has anybody ever given you an excuse where they're trying to tell you their problems as an excuse for why they can't give you your money? So in other words, this fella have $200 for you. He said, come for the money on Friday. When you go for the money on Friday, he giving you all kind of excuse. He said, boy, they didn't pay me yet. Now that may be true, but you don't want to hear that. Say, boy, man, I mean, I went to the bank, but the bank card have a little tear. I have to go and change the bank card Monday. Now that may be true, but you don't want to hear that. Now, of course, I would encourage you to have a little understanding, especially if you know the brother. But the case with Laura Trevelyan is different. The news says that she is an aristocrat. Put a figure to that. It got to be multi-million going into billions. And she pledges to give a whole island $100,000 or pounds. Little bit of money, yo. That's a little bit of money. That's nothing. That's one person's money. That's what you make a year. That's what you make a year to live a decent life. $100,000 a year is what will help you to live a proper, decent life in this system that we live in. $100,000. Nobody should be making less than $100,000 a year. Real thing. Real thing. And she coming to Grenada to give people 100,000 pounds. And she didn't even have it. And hear this now. She telling us she didn't have it because BBC didn't give her yet. So what? So what if BBC didn't give you? You don't have no other money? Then broke pocket talk, as they say in Jamaica. Broke pocket. Rasta. They're saying broke pocket Rasta. Yeah, that's broke pocket mentality. So why you don't have to tell us what BBC owe you? That's not our business. You say you have 100,000 pounds for us. Come bring it. Well, BBC hasn't paid me yet, and people clap for her too, you know. Why is it this amount you gave us? Because that's what I could afford. And oh yeah. Well, I tell you, the Negroes, the Negroes. Y'all don't remember that program? Go back and listen to it again, man. So now we see this apology from former colonial masters' descendants has risen its ugly head again. Yeah, ugly. How much money is he putting down, Gladstone? I didn't hear no figure from him. I heard somebody said that it was in the millions. I heard that somewhere else on some other program. But it wasn't in raw cash. It was in some other project he's putting together too. Projects is not reparations, man. Come on, what are you trying to tell me? Probably let's just listen to this here for a few moments and we will get to all of that. Just keeping in mind, that they're doing this on the anniversary of when the slaves rose up against his grandpappy. Mockery.
Now, the family of Britain's most famous Prime Minister will travel to the Caribbean this week to apologise for the family's historical ties to slavery. William Gladstone's father, John, was one of the largest slave owners in the British West Indies. The visit by the ancestors of the former PM coincides with the 200th anniversary of the 1823 rebellion in Guyana. In a joint statement, they said they believe their ancestors' actions amounted to a crime against humanity. So is this just the tip of the iceberg for families of slave traders? To debate this, I'm joined by my pack here in the studio. Talk TV contributor Esther Kraku, former newspaper editor Emily Sheffield, and the co-founder of Momentum, James Schneider. Thank you, all three of you. Now, Esther, I know you're no stranger to this conversation. You've had it a few times on television before. I think it's coming back around again because Gladstone is obviously such a big name in this. They're going to Guyana. What struck me about this is the reparations figure. I think it's somewhere around £100,000. It's going to be used to pay for research into the impact of slavery. It seems like a good cause.
No, is it? It's 100. This news organization is saying our next £100,000. So that's the standard that these people come with. They pay £100,000 to big up themselves. You see, let me show you the problem here, before we get to this. A lot of us as Black people, we think very small. That's why these crooks can get away with this, because we think very small. Anybody coming to your island to talk about £100,000 and reparation and apology, we should stone them at the airport. It is better that you stay in Britain or wherever you are and put on a Skype or Zoom and say you're sorry, and we'll put it on national television. It's okay, we will watch it. We will watch it. But for you to come all the way here, waste our time, get our children out of school to line up the road to wave flag for you, come to our university. Class has to be dismissed so we can listen to your rhetoric, to say you're sorry, and we don't even know if you really mean it. And you came with your whole family, 7 of you, and then you're talking about $100,000 and you're going to bring it back next time. And when you come, it's going to be put in this fund, that fund, and the other fund. I'm telling you, boy, £100,000. Because we think so small, we do not realize that these millionaires are just remember, these people invest their money. We don't think like that. We spend our money. We eat our money. We get a 10 grand, wow. We don't think of how to invest it. We think of what we need to pay, which bills we need to take care of. We would take a whole 10 grand and pay off bills, eh? You don't do that. It doesn't matter who you owe. You take the money and invest it and make it grow. Then you can pay who you owe. You could even double their money and they say, wow, thank you, I didn't expect that. We don't think like that. We are so busy being poor. Now we don't have no time to think about how to get rich. These killers know that they have 10 million in the bank. All they have to do is take out 100,000. That's all. Carry that to the Caribbean. Spend more than 100,000 to go down there with 7 members of the family, obviously. The tickets alone and accommodations and food alone pass 100,000. Come on. Come on. Where's the sense here? Whoever is paying for it, even if the airline is paying for it, somebody's paying for it. It costs more than $100,000. Laura Trevelyan and her 7 family members, they seem to like to travel in 7s. I wonder what they're up to. Her whole entourage, plus their bodyguards, plus the person to wipe their whatever they wipe when they do whatever they do, because they're aristocrats, you know. And when they leave, where they leave, nobody, any one of you who travels, you know, when you leave home, you got to leave money home. Meaning that, you know, Your place got to be secure. Your family you left behind. Whoever is taking place of your, taking care of your property. Whatever the case is, the point is to travel is money. And for Mr. Gladstone and his 7 relatives or 6 relatives to go to Guyana and to go back home, I'm sure the whole trip was more than $100,000 or pounds. And if it wasn't that, it was more than half of that. What is the point of all of this? These people are investors. They're tycoons. They spend 100,000 to make 100 million. So Miss Trevelyan now that she kicked BBC to the side, she has speaking engagements. Go and check her itinerary. Go and see if you could find her her speaking engagements. I am almost positive. Mr. Gladstone too. After breaking news, they're going to be interviewed. They're going to be asked to come and give a lecture here, there, and somewhere else. They're going to get paid for that, eh? And even if that doesn't happen, we now know Mr. Gladstone. I didn't know him before. We know him now. He has made a name for himself by just spending a measly old $100,000, pounds. And I'm sure that did not move his pocket. You see, if we thought, like business people, we could have seen that long time. That's a business move. And some other descendants of these wicked crackers are going to do the same thing soon. They're going to say, hey, I think our great-great-grandpappy had a few niggas too, Yeah, man. Let's put some money together and go down to one of them islands and say we're sorry. We ain't got 100,000 pounds. Well, we can put something together, man. I got 10. How much do you got? These niggas will take anything.
100,000 seems to me a bit small.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there is always the question of, well, if you're going to do this, then you really need to bring back the whole value of how much the slave owners were paid off. But there's the question of, because for me, this conversation has been in the public space for a while now. We know the issues of where does it stop? Africans were also trading Africans. The Arab slave trade of Africans was the most barbaric. There are actually more enslaved people on the planet now as we speak than there were at the height of the slave trade. There are all these questions, which I'm sure they're familiar with. For me, I think what strikes me is this is a very public kind of exercise of spit shining their halos, right? If you're going to do this, why do we need to know about it? For me, it's like, giving a homeless person 10 pounds and filming it and putting on social media to show how virtuous you are. I have no problem with how they want to spend their money. I would like them to give me the 100,000 pounds. I could certainly use it. Could you use 100,000 pounds?
That's such a mean. I think that's such a ridiculous attitude to have.
It's true.
They're making a public apology, which many of these countries, Guyana included, are demanding from people.
Who doesn't
They go ahead and do it. They do it publicly, and you're going, oh, I just think it's shining this.
No, because the thing
Come
is,
on, that's so ungenerous.
It doesn't help anyone.
What do you want them to do? Apologize or not apologize?
Listen, this is the thing. This is why ultimately I do not care how they choose to spend their money or how they choose to behave.
It's not about the money. You just complained. You said you think it's spit shining their halo because why did they need to make it public?
Yes, why do they need to make it
Countries
public?
in the Caribbean have been calling for public apologies. They go ahead and do it, and you tell them they're wrong.
They don't just call for a public apology. They
can't win.
That they also call for reparations. You can apologize a million times, but if they don't feel like they're actually getting reparations, if you're actually trying to rectify the wrongs of the past, they're not going to stop. They're not just asking for an apology. They're also asking for reparations.
My favourite topic's actually Britain apologising for the past, Victor.
About time. Here we go. William Gladstone's family of former British Prime Minister to apologise for links to slavery. And that's nice, that's cute, wonderful, great guy. He goes on to say that he's going to donate 20 million fund. But then I thought, that's good, that's a good start. But then it says to do more research into the effects of slavery.
Okay, before you go into all of that, it's funny, eh? This avenue now is saying is 20 million pounds he putting in.
Here we go. William Gladstone's family of former British Prime Minister to apologise for links to slavery. And that's nice, that's cute, wonderful, great guy. He goes on to say that he's going to donate 20 million fund, but then I thought, that's good, that's a good start. But then he says to do more research into the effects of slavery. No, we don't want no more research. We want money. I want money, my African cousins want money, our Caribbean cousins, even some white people want money from slavery.
I'll take some money. I'll have some money.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, when you look at the fact that John Gladstone owned or held mortgages over 2,508 enslaved Africans, I do go, okay, that seems excessive. But then at the same time, just to give the counter, the British, we just seem to constantly apologise for the British Empire. It was relatively benign. Turkey never apologises. You know, Paul had a small empire he's not apologised for. I mean, you know, and we also ended slavery just for...
But why are we apologizing? If a drug dealer gets caught tomorrow, he can't just go to court and go, I apologise. They're going to take all these assets. We need to take all their assets away. He's saying that he profited from slavery, which was illegal.
Yeah, there was a strange bit here where Laura Trevelyan said, well, she's a former BBC journalist, said, if anyone had white privilege, it was me. And it's like, then she gave 100,000. You're like, I feel like you've got more if that's your...
Yeah,
you
just dish out 100 grand.
Yeah. It's like, maybe
will this make you feel better?
Yeah, I mean, even white privilege, they started handing out that kind of...
That's premium white privilege, that is.
Yeah, I can't get into that, Craig. I'm telling you. I mean, first things first, right? I'll get onto the story and say, I love the way The Guardian framed this. Like, they've finally proven that slavery is bad. Look, bad. Slavery was bad. All right, well done, Guardian. Nice work. We've always known it's bad. We've had 300 years to get over it. The British are always apologising. This is, I mean, even you can agree with this, Victor. You're as British as I am, mate. We are always apologising, and we're apologising for the weather. We apologise for...
But we don't apologise for slavery.
We have just started, though, and that's our new thing, Victor.
I haven't seen Rishik say anything.
Rishi's not going to say anything for some obvious reasons. But at the end of the day, what good will this do? Tell us what good it will do, Victor, because I'm not sure what good it will do.
No, apology wouldn't do. I want the cash, and I want them to be stripped of all their riches if they've proven that they've earned money from slavery. Because as a drug dealer, I had all my assets taken away from me. Now, I'm not really a drug dealer. That's a stereotype. I'm not a drug dealer. I went to uni.
All right, good. Yeah. All right, no, for sure. No, when you hear them talk about Rishi, that's Sunak. And this is mystic now, you know, if you want to use mystic. Now, Mr. Sunak, I think he's the first, what is he, Arab or Indian prime minister? I think he's an Indian descent prime minister of Britain. Now, imagine him apologizing for slavery. This is a strange, because remember, you know, black people are, okay, as one journalist told another journalist, you're just as British as me. So the black brother born in Britain, but he's identifying as an African. Good for him. All right, let's just assume he became the prime minister of Britain now. Let's give it some time. Say in the next 50 years, Britain has a parliament that has more black people than it ever had. Prime Minister black. Okay. Where is the moral line now? Or the realistic or rational line for a black British prime minister apologizing for what Britain have done during slavery? I'm just checking the reality of this now, because it can come to that. Now, it would be good, because the same black British prime minister would overlook the money that Britain now would pay back to those who suffered from slavery, I would assume, including himself. But then now, obviously, it would have touched or pricked at the heart of others, because that's the argument a lot of people are using now. For example, the Prime Minister of Britain, the current one, who is an Indian, I've heard that argument on different channels. So why should he apologize? He didn't do nothing. His people didn't do nothing. In fact, they were subjected almost in the same way as the Negroes were subjected. That's the argument that people are flinging now. So in other words, it is getting watered down to some. And that is why we can't play around with the reparation too long. You see, like repatriation, that get watered down until nobody wants to return home. That's where we are. When we just came out of slavery, you see, the spirit of Marcus Garvey, that's why when Marcus Garvey came for us, we were ready. Because our backs were against the wall. Our backs still against the wall. In fact, it gone through the wall. But we've been so psychologically numbed that we're not aware of what's happening. That's the problem now.
It's like what Malcolm X said with the Novocaine. Somebody just come and rag out your tooth, you're gonna bawl all day and all night. But if they pump you with that deadening chemical that numbs your gum, they could rip out 5 of your teeth and you wouldn't even feel it. That's what's happening to us. We've been so numbed with the drug, with the Novocaine, that they can do us anything now, and we're not even aware of it. So family, as time moves on, things change. Even certain arguments that we uphold now, in the next 20, 30, 40 years, people are gonna say, oh, you know, that has gone so long now. That is a good argument. But that's going to be the argument. And we ourselves as people encourage it. We encourage it because our zeal for liberation today is not like our zeal for liberation yesterday. Because somehow we've been lulled to sleep to believe that we're liberated. Yeah, we've been hypnotized to believe that we have been redeemed. Can't you see what we were talking about a few nights ago? The march on Washington for jobs and freedom. Just the fact that all these people could march on Washington, you finally get your chance to stand up before Abraham Lincoln and you can beg him for a job and freedom. The statue should have talked to you and say, I free you niggas already. Boy, I would have stoned him for calling me that. Boy, I'd have break down the if your statue did talk that day and say that, I would have climbed up there and dig out his eyes. Say, who you calling nigga? Yeah, man, they would lock me up. I would do it. I would do it. I wouldn't even consider, how is it the statue talk? I would just say, hey, them days gone, you know, Abe. You don't disrespect me, so I would slap him. I would. Then I would say, but how on earth did this statue talk, by the way? Yeah, but it's reality, family. I know you get what I'm saying. So here you have this Indian British Prime Minister. Now hear this now. I'm going to run this clip for you. This is from Parliament. And you have an opposition member now who is an African, a black woman. And she's standing up saying that we as British people need to repay reparations to the people that we have enslaved. This is some serious turn of events here.
This month marks 23 years since
that is a black woman they're talking, eh?
This month marks 23 years since the passing of the late great Bernie Grant, a former member of this House and the founder of the UK reparations movement in the UK. In his last Prime Minister's questions before his death, he asked for an apology to the people of African descent, living and dead, for our country's role in slavery and colonialism. But since then, Prime Ministers and heads of state have only ever expressed sorrow or deep regret. These are not sentiments that are befitting one of the greatest atrocities in human history. These are his questions before his passing of the late great Bernie Grant, a former member of this House and the founder of the UK reparations movement in the UK. In his last Prime Minister's questions before his death, he asked for an apology to the people of African descent, living and dead, for our country's role.
For our country's role. That's what the black woman is saying. I want you to check the psychology of this. So the black woman standing in Parliament is saying that Bernie Grant, who is dead and gone, before he died, in his Prime Minister's questions, he was pushing to the Prime Minister to you know, encouraging him to apologize for our role, our being British role, Britain's role. She is identifying, okay, she's British, according to that kind of stuff. She is British. So it's our role. So it has become our role. But since you ain't got nothing to do with that, you ain't got nothing to do with that at all. That's like the hyenas attacking the lions. And then enslaving a few lions. And then having them in the hyenas' kingdom as slave. And then all of a sudden the lions somehow come to take a position in the hyenas' kingdom. Not King Hyena, but a senator in the hyenas' kingdom. And then all of a sudden the lion is saying, we hyenas need to apologize for what we did to the lions centuries ago. Well, you're a lion too. It is your grandmother that they came for. You didn't do nothing to us. You're us. But I'm telling you, boy, geopolitics, eh? All right, let's continue to listen.
Late great Bernie Grant, a former member of this House and the founder of the UK reparations movement in the UK. In his last Prime Minister's questions before his death, he asked for an apology to the people of African descent, living and dead, for our country's role in slavery and colonialism. But since then, Prime Ministers and heads of state have only ever expressed sorrow or deep regret. These are not sentiments that are befitting one of the greatest atrocities in human history. And there's been no acknowledgement of the wealth that has been amassed or the fact that our country took out the largest loan it ever has to pay off the slave owners and not the enslaved.
That's where Gladstone got his 100. What did he get? His 100,000 pounds. And they want to come and give us back the 100,000 pounds. That ain't worth no 100,000 pounds today. Yeah. Well, the other fellow said he was given 2 million. He ain't giving a thing. He's just building some institution to teach us why slavery happened. That ain't good enough. That can't feed us. What are you trying? Come on. Sorry, sister. Go ahead.
So I want to ask the Prime Minister today if he will do what Bernie Grant asked all those years ago, what I have asked and what countless others have asked since, and offer a full and meaningful apology for our country's role in slavery and colonialism and commit to reparatory justice.
Okay, so now, so Rishi Sunak now, this is the Indian Prime Minister of England. You understand, right? Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
No, Mr. Speaker, that what I think our focus should now be on doing is, of course, understanding our history in all its parts, not running away from it.
Our history? Hey, this is some serious stuff, eh? I tell you, you know, when I was younger, my father used to watch cricket, and the West Indies would be playing South Africa. Everybody on the West Indies side looked like an African. Everybody on South African side looked like a Caucasian. And as a young child, I used to watch that and say, but that don't make no sense. That's the kind of world we live in, eh? We live in a sort of blind world where we see, but we still act as if we don't see.
In slavery and colonialism and commit to reparatory justice.
Well, no, Mr. Speaker, that what I think our focus should now be on doing is, of course, understanding our history in all its parts, not running away from it, but right now making sure that we have a society which is inclusive and tolerant of people from all backgrounds. That's something that we on this house, our side of the house, are.
As he's saying that, there are black people obviously on his side. Not in the head to what he said. And that's just because they're on his side. Politics is sick, eh?
But right now making sure that we have a society which is inclusive and tolerant of people from all backgrounds. That's something that we on this house, our side of the house, are committed to doing and will continue to deliver. But trying to unpick our history is not the right way forward and is not something that we will focus our energies on.
All right. Now, there's so many aspects to this, eh? There's so many aspects to this, and I'm happy that we're looking at it from all these different angles. I'm going to give you one more angle before we actually wrap up in our commentary. And remember, at the end of the program tonight, don't go anywhere, because we have to rebroadcast or broadcast the program we did previous night. As I said, the system for the platform that we use was not operating properly at all, which is radio.co. That has nothing to do with us. That's the platform we use for our radio annual. We are somewhat skeptical if they are working with the FBI or the CIA, straight up, and have not to hide, because they would have, it appears as if they would have attempted to sabotage us. That's radio.co. That's what we use for radio, and radio.co. And it would appear as if they would have attempted to sabotage us several times. I would have not said anything about it because I'm not in the business of throwing people under the bus like that. But I mean, when you run an operation like this and we have the ability to speak to you, and you show no remorse really for even when you make a mistake and these different things. So we have to really make it be clear. We can't make you believe it's our fault why you didn't hear the program last night at all. So we're going to be broadcasting the program from previous night as soon as this one is over, because obviously you wouldn't have heard that.
Yes,
All
family,
right.
give thanks, of course, for the life given, the keeper of life. And I'm talking about exactly 15 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. That was just an excerpt from a broadcast that we did the other evening on the Tiger's Nest, a very interesting program, the Tiger's Nest for sure. Those of you who are not subscribers to the Tiger's Nest, this is a very simple thing to do. Just email us, priestishaacinstitute@gmail.com, priestishaacinstitute@gmail.com, and you will never miss another episode of the Tiger's Nest again. Remember, the Tiger's Nest is a program that comes to you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, radio and with the international flavor, the universal spice. Right now, you're getting radio and TV, telling you truth vision. Yeah, definitely talking about no television here. And of course, just reminding you of the relaunch of the website. The 17th day of September is going to be a beautiful day. That's just a strong away. 17th day of September is 7 days away. So we're definitely inviting each and everyone to be there with us, be a part of the great extravaganza that will be going down. Myself and yourself and all loved ones will be in the house, and we will be definitely having an exciting time as we launch and relaunch the website specifically. Of course, by now everyone should know that I will be giving to the world my natal chart that that is my ancient astronomical natal chart reading. The document itself will be presented. I'll be reading it from top to bottom, from beginning to end, and giving the family a good understanding of exactly what the natal chart is all about. This is something that you will want to be in the house for, so make sure you are there with us. Beautiful. Now we have something very special for you lined up in a moment that I'm sure you'd want to definitely partake of. But before we go there, I'm just going to share some more information with you and make sure that you are kept in the know. Family, give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. Of course, as I said, this is a radio and TV. Yeah, give thanks.
Emperor Haile Selassie I has a specific alignment with a little spoken of Kushite deity, Neter, known as Apedimek. The conquering line hath prevailed.
When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black and the green around me. For in the new life I shall rise up with God's grace and blessing to lead the millions of the heights and the triumph that you well know. Look for me in a world when there is storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and right.
Sunday the 17th of September, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom and on YouTube for the official relaunch of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge website, priestisaacinstitute.com. Our website has been upgraded and has been made more easily accessible to you. On priestisaacinstitute.com, you will find all that you need for your holistic growth. We offer certified courses in ancient astronomy and ancient archaeoastronomy, as well as our international homeschool program for children of all ages. At priestisaacinstitute.com, we not only offer our books, video documentaries, and webinars, we also have available food preparation courses and cooking classes in the field of raw foods as well as ITIL plant-based cuisines. Do you shop online for your nuts, grains, etc.? We have that too. Get all your necessities from your agave, honey, spices, all your nuts, and so on. Now don't forget our online clothing labeled with our icons. You can get your sweaters, t-shirts, even hoodies. The Tiger's Nest. And speaking of the Tiger's Nest, Radio Anu International, 24-hour internet radio, giving you positive, conscious information and inspiration throughout the day. Again, on the 17th of September 2023, mark the date, from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom or on the Priest Isaac's YouTube channel for the official relaunch of priestisaacinstitute.com. Zoom VIPs will receive a special gift. To get your Zoom link, go to the website priestisaacinstitute.com or email us at priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. 17th of September. Be there.
Presentation of countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys.
There's no topic that concerns me more than the one on the conspiracy to destroy black boys. And the reason is when our little boys are in preschool and primary grades, they're very innocent and very enthusiastic about learning. It's on the cover of this particular book, and I would like for him to grow up to be a man. Like many of you already told me, that you have sons and male students as well. Now there's two parts of the conspiracy, volume 1, and this is volume 2. In volume 1, we raised 4 questions. First question is, when did the conspiracy start? Who is against black boys? Why is there a conspiracy against them? And what exactly is the conspiracy? That's in volume 1. In volume 2, we look at the relationships between mothers and their sons. That must be studied. We also must look at female teachers and black male students. That must also be studied. We must look at some case studies. In other words, many of us are doing a very good job developing black boys to be men. What is it that some of us are doing that others are not doing? And then last but not least, a program called the Rites of Passage into Manhood. See, it used to be we knew when black boys became men. But now many of us don't know when we're men. It's how much reefer we smoke, how much wine we drink, how many babies we make. Until black men spell it out to black boys what it means to be a man, this conspiracy will continue. But let's go back to volume 1. When did it start? And as we begin to look at that, I want to also share with you why we call it a conspiracy to destroy black boys. You see, contrary to belief at birth, there are more black boys born in the world than there are girls. It's close, but it's 1.03 black boys born in the world to 1.0 black girls. Hear me clearly. At birth, black boys outnumber black girls 1.03 to 1.0. A brief 18 years later, it is now 1.0 available, and that's the key word, available black men, to 1.8 available black women. Almost 2 adult women for every 1 adult man. Now, the only question that should be going through your minds right now is what happened? We keep raising the wrong question. We keep asking, why do black men hang on corners? Why do black men lack direction? Well, if you ask this question, you answer the question 18 to 30 years too late. It is not a conspiracy to destroy black men. It's a conspiracy to destroy black boys. If you destroy him as a boy, he'll never become a man. Now I can look around the room and tell you know where are they. If they're not available to black women, where are they? Call the roll. In jail, there are 329,000 brothers in prison right now. 1 of every 4 brothers will go to prison. Where else? Or death. There's numerous ways that we die. There's homicide, suicide, drugs, war, high blood pressure, and the leading killer among black men, lung cancer. Our love for cigarettes, especially cool. Smoke them all day long and die the exact same way. Cool. Where else? We have prison, death. What else to make us unavailable to black women? Yes, homosexuality. As you said earlier, 1 of every 9 men in this country are homosexual. Where else? Yes.
Hospitalized, institutionalized.
Okay, so institutionalization, and there's not only in terms of hospitals, but also mental institutions, and of course, when they get released, many times being homeless. There's still one other large popular area. Thimby?
They marry white women.
Okay, interracial marriages. Now I want to pause there for a moment, because you would think if anybody is going to marry outside the race, it would be black women. You got 2 black women for every 1 black man. But as Thimby pointed out, it's exactly the opposite. There are 164,000 interracial marriages, of which 116,000 are brothers. That means 48,000 sisters. It's almost a 2-to-1 ratio of black men to black women marrying outside the race. But remember, as you said in the earlier workshop, if the definition of beauty is light skin, long hair, and blue eyes, why stop with Renee, the light-skinned sister? Why not get you the real thing? Got some serious problems here. And then black men tell me, I can't find a black woman to understand me. You mean out of 20 million black women, you can't find one to understand you? You don't need a white woman, you need a psychiatrist. But that's another workshop on relationships. But I just want to share with you, we got some very serious problems. But to tease this audience, black women are tired of being by themselves. And in the earlier issue of Essence magazine, the article said, guess who's coming to dinner now? Black women are tired of being by themselves. In other words, brothers, you can't have it both ways. You can't have 2 black women to choose from and still marry a white woman. You can't have it both ways. Black women are tired of being by themselves. Now, that's with regards to the stats, why we wrote the book, because we saw the shortage of black men. But what we want to begin to find out is, when did it start? You see, it's called the 4th grade syndrome. Studies show that black boys may be the best students in the country up until the 4th grade. So we wanted to find out what your son, a male student, was doing at the beginning of the 3rd grade, then at the end of the 7th grade, and then measure the progress. Let me give you 3 examples. We had a little boy 5 years ago on an Alva reading test score at the 98th percentile in the country. In other words, a walking genius. That means only 2% male, female, white, or black had a higher score than he at the beginning of the 3rd grade. At the end of 7th grade, the same boy now drops down to the 35 percentile. Engineer potential here, pimp or pusher now, scores should have improved 5 years, instead they only improved 1.3. 2 more examples. We had a little boy at the 92nd percentile. He dropped down to the 24th percentile, and his scores only improved 2.1. But let me give you the average example. We had a little boy at the 63rd percentile. He dropped down to the 4th percentile, and his score didn't improve a year, a month, a week, not even a day. There are 3 critical stages in black boys' development: infancy to 9, 9 to 13, and 13 to 18. You see, it's easy to see the negative behavior here when he's already dropped out, laid up on some street corner lacking direction. It's more difficult to see it around 9 years of age, when they begin to sit further in the back of the class, when they begin to ask less questions, when their ball becomes more important than their book, when they begin to cheat on their tests. We appeal to you to turn your sons and male students on early. Teach them how to read early. Teach them the beauty of being black and believing in God early. But many of us have waited, and we have waited almost too late to develop black boys to be men. You know what I'm getting at. America spends $2,300 on Head Start. They spend $38,000 on prison. If Reagan wanted to balance the budget, I can show you save about $36,000 per person. It's much easier to educate than it is to incarcerate. Now you raise the questions. How long do you stay in Head Start? Year? 2 years is the most? How long do you stay in prison? The rest of your life? Question number 1. Question number 2, does Head Start work? A 19-year study documents that Head Start works, but in prison, 85% of the inmates that get released go right back in. But as Jesse Jackson says, we have 2 choices. We can either send me to Penn State or to State Penn. It's your choice. We have got to find ways to intervene. Now, we have a whole workshop just on the fourth grade syndrome. I now want to ask you, what are some of the reasons you feel to explain why black students, especially black boys, were doing so well K through 3, and now scores declining in the intermediate and upper grades? What explains it? Yes.
I think the learning style changes abruptly in fourth grade from what might have been more right brain activities in the primary grades into all of a sudden all left brain activities.
Okay, so a change in learning styles or methodology from the teacher, from a holistic learning style to a left brain. Okay, very good. Any others? Yes.
I think that there's a lot of rejection on the part of the female teachers in the classroom.
And the rejection increases with the upper grades? Why do you think it increases?
Because of the students, perhaps his natural makeup, hyperactivity and that sort of thing.
And that may be increasing? Well, it may be increasing because we're now expecting them to stay in school or stay in a chair even longer. Okay. Any others that contribute to this fourth grade syndrome? We have a change in learning style. We have the teacher's outlook on the student. What else? Yes.
The student becomes more culturally aware and differs significantly from the teacher often. Okay,
so the child's now becoming more aware of their cultural and racial identity. Okay, very good. Any others? The major reason you have not given yet, and maybe that's why this problem is still with us, Terry. First name is?
Richard.
I'm sorry, Richard.
Well, the peer group starts to form and become stronger about the peer group.
And that's unfortunate, Richard, that you said that, because as the age increases, the peer pressure is on the increase, while parental involvement is on a decrease. I don't know who told parents when your child gets older, they need less of your time rather than more. When I speak to Head Start parents, 80% of them are there. Elementary school, 30%. High school, almost a joke. We have to work on that. That's another workshop, too, on parenting all the way through, not just in those quote-unquote tender years. But the major reason, it's not on the board yet. Still looking for it. Yes. Gwen?
I think, too, that young boys, and particularly young black boys, in the primary grades, they have many mother figures, and they have very few men figures, and particularly black male figures. And I think it makes a big difference come grade 4.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's the major reason. And let me now give my first position. I sincerely believe that only men can make boys men. Now, don't misquote me. I didn't say that a single female parent or female teacher cannot rear or educate her child. But she need not do that by herself. But she calls upon her father, her brother, an uncle, a male neighbor, a nephew, a coworker. There needs to be some men in our children's lives. I want you to explain to me how a boy is going to grow up to be a man if he's never seen any. In order to be anything, you must see it first. Remember in the earlier workshop, and I'll go through this very quickly, from the University of Michigan, we wanted to find out what the major influence on children. We said 1950, it was home, school, church, peer group, and television. And then we gave you 1980. Home was still number 1, peer group in the number 2 position, television 3, school dropped down to number 4, church last on the list. Let's go back to my statement. My statement said that only men can make boys men. Now let's see where black boys are going to find men. Let's first of all look at his home. 62% of all black children live in a single-run household. It's a very good chance we will now find a man here. I'm going to hold off on the streets and drop down to television. Can you name me 5 positive adult black men on television outside the news? And you can't name Cosby because the show just started. Name me 5.
Outside the news?
No.
Outside the news.
Jefferson.
And you better not say George Jefferson. So they find very few black male role models on television. Now let's drop down to the schools. 83% of all elementary school teachers are women. 95% of all teacher aides are women. And when do men teach? After the critical 4th grade, or they're in the upper grade, or they're the PE teacher, the janitor, or the principal. Very few before the 4th grade where black boys need them the most. And lastly, the church. Most young people, men, don't go to church. And the reason is we lie to them. First of all, we made Jesus Christ white. The man surely was not white. And we have a book called What Color Was Jesus to explain that. He had hair the texture of wool and feet the color of bronze. But secondly, the Lord's Prayer says on earth as it is in heaven. Young people and men want some action. They want some programs. If there are no programs in your church, they will see you later in heaven. As a result of not finding a man at home, few on television, few in school, and not wishing to attend church, the last place is the streets. And that's the problem. The streets do a very poor job making men. They do a better job making pimps, pushers, and a few basketball players. Their hero, Michael Jordan, has said there were 1 million brothers that won his job last year in the NBA. Of this million, only 400,000 will even make it to play high school ball. Of this 400,000, only 4,000 will make it to play college ball. Of this 4,000, only 35 will go to the coveted NBA. Of this 35, only 7 start. And the average life in the NBA is 4 years. You got a million brothers looking for 7 full-time jobs that last 4 years. This conspiracy is complex. It goes beyond the NBA. Even schools are in on it. What will be the first thing you see when you walk into a Cincinnati high school? A large trophy case. In other words, even schools give more glory to their ball players than the scholars. That's said in the earlier workshop. Where are the pep rallies for the honor roll? In other words, even school, I can understand the NBA, but even schools give more glory to their ball players than their scholars. This conspiracy goes beyond the NBA, though. It goes beyond schools. Jesse Jackson is giving you the clue one more time. Is it not possible for a black man to be president? For a white woman to be president? For a black woman to be president? Is the club only reserved for European men? You didn't know that a white boy with a high school diploma makes more money than a white woman, or black man with a college degree? The motive for the conspiracy is clear. For the question of why is there a conspiracy, the answer is white male supremacy. In other words, white men are not afraid of women, black or white, because women have no power anywhere in this world. The threat to European men will come not from women, it will come from other men. And the best way to destroy black men is to destroy them as a boy. The motive is white male supremacy. But before you get comfortable blaming somebody else, let me make sure we're clear. On a conspiracy, there would always be two. You see, you have the active conspirators, and you have the passive conspirator. See, it's like child abuse. There were always two. You have the father who does the beating, active. But you have the mother who turns her back, passive. Isn't apathy, indifference, low expectations, buying hot goods in the black community, isn't that also part of a conspiracy? You have the active and you have the passive. In a conspiracy, there will always be two. Let me now give you the starting lineup. We'll start with the active ones first and then move to the passive. Leading off, batting in the #1 position, representing this country, institutional racism. Batting first is the president. He bats in the #1 position. Batting second, representing the Trilateral Commission, the Fortune 500, big business. David Rockefeller bats